Hello, my name is Timothy Ty Mollison Jr. This is my LHRD 4808 internship portfolio presentation. I did my internship with Brigade Energy Services. Brigade Energy Services in Odessa, Texas. Brigade is a well servicing company that strictly focuses, for the most part, on production and P&A. Production wells are wells that are already producing oil. These wells need to be serviced. They have to change out the tubing, change out pumps, other things that way we can keep getting the oil out of the ground for the rest of the world to keep going around. P&A, on the other hand, is when a well has come to the end of its life and you have to plug it and abandon it. We pump cement down the hole and make sure that nothing can escape from it to control the environment. The reason I chose Brigade is because they actually have a newly formed completions division as of 2018. Specifically in the completions division, I have a background in completions post-frac. That means we go in and drill out plugs after a well has been fracked. We clean the well bore out by pumping a mixture of chemicals down and recirculating the fluids back to the surface. This was the first standalone product service line that Brigade's ever had. I jumped at the opportunity to go to work for Brigade back in June. As its own service line, what we have to do is provide equipment and personnel. That personnel has to be able to run the equipment and be able to assess the well bore effectively. As far as my responsibilities went, I had a lot on my plate. I was in charge of all the surface fluids in our completions department. I had to inventory the chemicals that we had on the yard, had to order chemicals in, I had to train our personnel, I had to play account manager. If there was a certain customer who really liked our service, I had to make sure that he was still on board with using us. I had to order all the chemicals and supplies, find vendors that could actually deliver to us. Sometimes we're working out in the middle of nowhere, and at that time, you can't always just have a hotshot driver bringing your products to and from your warehouse. I also had to prepare operations reports and sales reports. We had calls every Friday, and they alternated sales and ops bi-weekly. SMART goals. I will lead my team in the development and implementation of a standard operating procedure for the rig up and rig down of our equipment. Rig up and rig down is typically the most dangerous part of any job in the oil field. It involves heavy equipment, the swinging of sledgehammers, lots of moving parts, forklifts moving things. There's a lot to look out for. So we had to write a standard operating procedure to make sure that we were alleviating these problems. For the first 3 months I was at Brigade, we just went off of our own knowledge. The experience that myself and two of the guys that worked for me on my team had from working at other mix and plant companies prior to this, we relied on that way too much. So when I sat down with my boss, site supervisor, who's the area manager here in Odessa, Texas, Billy Underwood, we discussed making a standard operating procedure to take out inherent dangers that we could alleviate. In order to accomplish this, we took lots of notes, lots of pictures to illustrate how we thought operations should go. Every other week, I compiled the notes and assigned a team member to enter them into a working document. We delivered our SOP on time, but not as many pictures as we'd like. One thing that I learned about this is that even though you don't reach your entire goal, you can still deliver something that is of value. What we've decided now at Brigade is that this is a living document and will continue to evolve as time goes on. Second SMART goal. I will lead my team to develop a system to generate well data reports that track all of our gel sweeps, the time we tag plugs, and has a running analysis of the fluid condition. Data is king. we're learning more and more in the oil field that the more things that we can track, the more things we can predict. I, with the help of my team, created a spreadsheet to keep track of all this data. By seeking input from guys in the field, we streamlined this data entry process and created a timeline in which we entered information in a timely fashion that gave us an idea of when we should really do it, as opposed to, well, I'll write this down when I think I should, or let me grab my pipe tally book, a little notebook, and say, hey, this is what I did today. No, we had to decide exactly how we're going to track this data. This system allowed us to find downhole trends when we were pumping chemicals. By assessing the fluid condition, we were able to manage and stay ahead of problems. Staying ahead of problems is big business in the oil field. If you let a well get out of control, that can mean serious injuries. Third SMART goal, I will lead my team in the development of a real-time chemical and material inventory system. Liquid inventory is notoriously difficult to keep track of. It's just, you have different jugs and different size containers, and you have so many different moving totes to carry this in. It's hard to get a grasp on what exactly you have. So you tend to order things when you don't need them. You're ordering in smaller quantities, so you're not getting the best price. After gathering ideas from my team, we built a spreadsheet that kept track of these chemicals and materials we had on hand, how much we paid for them, and the potential revenue that it could generate. This was imperative. Before this, we'll just order some more for the next job. But we never knew how much we had on hand, how much money we could save by not purchasing chemicals in small quantities. By knowing exactly what we had and how much we needed, we could time our inventory purchases out to where we had a cost savings on the chemicals and the deliveries. In order to track the success of this goal, we developed a system of when we report chemical usage, a way to double check that usage, and we assigned a point person to enter that data. This was critical to our profit and loss statement. As we'll see in the evidence section, it made a huge difference as opposed to going by a notepad that somebody just took down every couple of weeks. Continuation on how this was effective. It made us competitive during bids. Understanding our chemical costs allowed us to come down on equipment prices when we had to make a new bid. It also allowed for corrective information when we were going through our profit and loss statements. One time, right after we had finished this project, $33,000 worth of a diverter material was not charged off of our expenditures. What happened was we had an internal malfunction where they didn't code our sales correctly, and it put my division at a loss for the month. At the end of the day, we can see here that how much inventory we had on hand to start, the minimum revenue that it could generate, the maximum revenue. This is because different customers have different pricing. So it allowed us to bid in a way that if we had two competitors going at each other, we could see exactly how much money we could come down on the equipment rental because we were making it up with the chemical price. Also, as I said before, these inventory controls allowed me to do a much better job of purchasing and controlling delivery costs. My leadership goals. I wanted to learn how to delegate. I'm famous for jumping into doing things myself instead of just waiting if it's a difficult process. I set out to change this throughout this internship. In order to combat this, I gave myself the dirty glove rule. Before I put my gloves on, I'd step back, assess the situation. If the situation does not present an immediate danger, I try to delegate. If I can't delegate the task to one of my team members, I call everyone together, we sit around for a seminar, and I put on a coaching session. This saves me from having to teach guys multiple times or multiple people on different occasions what needs to be done when we have a situation arise. My second goal, seeing people as more than a skill set. I have scored low in empathy and compassion for others on traits assessments throughout the semester in the other leadership class. And I work to change my demeanor. Every day I remind myself before I got on occasion, people are more important than the projects. I try not to get as caught up in my work and focus on the compassion towards the other guys instead of compassion to work. I started inquiring about their personal lives. I was just acting at first, I'm not gonna lie. But what I learned was getting my focus off of work allowed me to care more. Enough reps acting like you care leads you to actually care. I used to only get calls from the guys on my team when they needed something pertaining to work. Now, they'll call me and ask me advice about their personal life, invite me to do things with them in our time off. I really have strengthened this weakness through this internship. The challenges. I knew one going in was going to be changing the status quo. Everyone wants to do things the way they learned it. It's very common in the oil field. My throat's a little scratchy. It's very common in the oil field for a guy to say, well, that's the way I learned it, and that's the way I'm going to do it, and I'm not changing. Well, I had to paint the big picture with the end goal in mind and tell them, look, if we streamline this process now, it's going to be easy for us in the future. It'll be easier for you to train the new employees that we're going to hire on, and you're going to get the better jobs out of the job board. Second big challenge that I had no clue was coming was in September, right as my internship was starting up, the oil business was slowing down in West Texas. Not as much work going around. So what do? We got lean on pricing and sold on service. This was a good combative tactic. You know, we told our operators that we said, look, we'll cut price and break even as long as you allow us to try some new things, which was our new inventory tracking system, our well data services, to be able to provide reports. We got to experiment by working with these guys in a downturn. Another challenge that I didn't see was 3 days before the internship started, I went from a team of 6 to a team of 4 overnight. This threw off the schedule. That schedule my guys work is 14 days on and 7 days off. 3 guys cover 1 piece of equipment. So I sat them all down and asked, well, do y'all want me to hire somebody else? Or are we gonna take this on ourselves? I'll help y'all fill in the gaps. This did lead to some serious problems though. I wasn't able to put extra people on the equipment to help write the standard operating procedure. So our goals became harder to achieve. What I had to do is delegate more things out and hold all parties accountable. We're gonna move on to some evidence here. This right here is an email from my Vice President of Operations, and he was inquiring why we were at a loss of revenue. The month of October, we should have broken even. Our inventory system that we had developed allowed me to find this internal misappropriation of funds. It also gave me well data from my other SMART goal to go back and figure out exactly how many days we had been on the well, so I knew how much to charge back to the company to reallocate those funds. This is a prime example of multiple goals working together in a real life situation. Here you can see me and my buddy Adrian. We're sitting in the doghouse, which is the control center of our equipment. Through the formalization of our standard operating procedure, we figured out that we had to treat chemicals a certain way. Right here, we're reading a safety data sheet. It shows us how to handle the chemicals, what to do in case of a spill, what kind of proper protective gear you need to wear. We also got a second goal right here. This helped us make a comprehensive data report, because if we used new chemicals, we had to track their behavior in the wellbore, allowing us to sell something in the future, giving us valuable knowledge to be able to pass on as a service. The last piece of evidence right here, tracking the measurables. We're talking about our well data reporting. This on the right is our plug tracker, on the left is our fluids test. The combined data allows us to predict future wellbore situations. By knowing the future wellbore situations, we can stay ahead of those problems that we have oftentimes. If we have successful completion operations, that leads to more jobs. In conclusion, this internship forced me to become more responsive and more responsible in my duties. It gave me an opportunity to further develop myself in the career that I have chosen. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.